Coach Yurcich. As always, please raise your hand and we'll call on you. Let's start with Greg Pickle with On Three. Go ahead, Greg.
Hi, Coach. Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, thanks. How do you evaluate Drew's first 5 games, and is there anything from the eye test that stands out to you that maybe doesn't look readily apparent as a?
Yes, sir. So you're with regard to quarterback play, you're saying?
Sorry, I muted myself, but yes, correct.
Yeah. So he's done a really good job thus far, just taking what the defense has given him, being patient. I think, in the last ball game, he did a really good job of going through progressions and checking the ball down. A couple big check downs actually turned into explosives, just throwing the ball underneath to the tailback on vertical routes. He's been patient. He hasn't really pressed. He's been really good so far and very consistent. Hasn't really forced the ball, which a lot of times with a young quarterback you tend to see that happening, and he hasn't done that. Hasn't played perfect by any stretch, but has shown really good progress, and I like where he's headed. And I guess what you don't see is the little things that, subtle movements in the pocket, trying to get him more vertical into the pocket. And sometimes when the pocket's breaking down, you don't want to handcuff the quarterback and limit their athleticism or their instincts. However, we have to continue to drill the quarterback working vertical into the pocket as much as possible. And reclaiming that ground, that area in between the tackles and behind the center is quarterback territory, and we've got to get comfortable getting into the pocket at times. So we'll work that and drill that and make that more muscle memory.
Let's go to Audrey Snyder with The Athletic, and then Tyler, you're on deck.
Hey, Mike, thanks for doing this afternoon. I wanted to ask about the explosive element of your offense. James Franklin has said a few times that, he thinks you guys can be more explosive. How, I guess, would you assess that? And what, I guess, is your level of satisfaction with that part of?
Yeah, not satisfied with it thus far. Need to continue to grow there, both run and pass, finding explosives, throwing the ball more down the field when given the opportunity to do so. A lot of times what we're seeing is softer type coverage in misopportune times. So that's part of it. Just timing there and making sure that we're getting into good looks, something that I can control, and making sure we're doing a better job of play wise. But I think that's the biggest keys, is making sure that we're taking what the defense has given us. To a certain extent, being patient and methodically moving the football down the field is good to keep our defense off the field, but we know we have to be more explosive. We're going to work real hard on it. This bye week gives us an opportunity to really self-scout, look at ourselves, and to attack areas that we need to address.
Go to Tyler Donahue, 247. John Sauber, you're on deck.
Good afternoon, Mike. We appreciate your time today. Could ask about your receivers and the lead guy there, and Keandre Lambert Smith. How would you evaluate how he has stepped up here in his senior season? And then beyond him, the production you're getting from elsewhere in that room, where do you view that?
Yeah, we're work in progress there with the receiver. So still trying to find the right pieces. With regard to Keandre, he's been very consistent. Like the energy he's bringing, he's been a spark that we've needed. He's been explosive. He's a guy that we can count on, and we just need to continue to press and find the right combination of guys and keep those guys competing. And the biggest thing is we're going to need them all, and we need to just continue to work and really master our craft and our concepts and get better as a whole unit and keep the competition on those guys and keep rotating them and see who emerges from that. We gotta press forward. We know that time is ticking, so that is a big part of what we want to do as far as identify the guys that we need to target on the field. And we like where we're headed. We just need to continue to work on that.
Let's go to John Sauber and Johnny McGonigal. You're on deck.
Hey, Mike, you've been a coordinator at the Power 5 level for about 10 years now. How would you compare this offense to what you were doing when you first got to the Power 5 level at Oklahoma State, and how have you developed as a coach since then?
Yeah, I think it's much different. I think we've changed. Every offense is a little bit different, even when you go back to 2013 to 14 to 15, how it's changed based on your personnel. And I think that's the most important thing that you can keep in mind is keeping your personnel in the forefront of everything that you're doing from a developmental standpoint, and how you can move the ball best, and how you can score points best, win games. It all starts with ball security with us. It's always been that way, and that's a staple of what we want to do, and we got to continue on that road. But at the same time, play to our personnel strengths, try to find mismatches, and win ball games that way. So it's personnel predicated, and it really starts with that, and then just a lot of group think. Our whole staff, it's very shared responsibility wise. Nobody cares who gets the credit, and we're just continually brain trust in that room. We got great assistant coaches, we have great analysts, got great input from our head coach, and just trying to continually develop and see where we can really maximize the personnel that we have. That's the ultimate goal. Each year is going to be different, and you have to continue to develop and change with each season and each roster that you have to manage.
Let's go to Johnny McGonigal and then Ali Barubi.
And Mike, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. With going back to Drew and his play so far, through 5 games, is there anything that has surprised you, whether that's positive, negative, strength, weakness, anything that he's done or what he's put on tape or how he's, conducted himself as a quarterback, anything that has, surprised you so far?
In going back to last spring, really even in the fall when he did play, and into the spring and then into fall camp, there's really no surprises. You get a good sample size each time that you're able to get to a camp session and get 15 practices in, to really identify and see where the guys are at, and be able to analyze the strengths and the weaknesses. So really no surprises there. So I can't say that anything really jumps off the charts there, but we have to continue to get better, and there's room for growth all across the board from just about every aspect of it, from footwork to moving in the pocket movement, and just identifying defenses, our RPO game, drop back game, quicks, all of that stuff. There's not one glaring aspect to me that we really outshines something else. It's just kind of a all-encompassing overall getting better and more well-rounded at that position.
Let's go to Ali Barubi, ABC 27. Ben Jones, you're on deck.
Hey, Mike, James has talked a lot the last couple of weeks about your dynamic with Manny, the way you guys kind of bounce off each other in meetings. Obviously, with the way the defense is playing, giving you the ball back every 2 minutes in a game, like how much do you feed off of the defense specifically as an offense? And then also just if you could describe your relationship with Manny and how you guys have kind of evolved in the last couple of years together.
Yeah, Manny's an unbelievable coach. He's been a head coach, so he provides a lot of different perspective from that regard. So, I think he sees things much differently because of that experience. And so, for me, being only a coordinator throughout my career, it's great to get an education and to listen and to see how things are, how he sees things, and just listen. Try to gain as much information I can from him as far as, what we feed off the defense. I mean, they're giving us great field position. We're taking advantage of it and can do a better job even in that regard. But he's a big in the defense. I mean, offense and defense, being complementary, but the other added dimension to that is special teams as well. So, we want to be a 3-headed monster in that regard and play team winning football. So far, we've done that. And, we got to continue to improve on offense, and that's our job. But they've been, tremendous on that side of the ball. And of course, you're going to feed off that energy. We've got great leadership across the board. The defense and offense throughout the week are very competitive. Coach Franklin has a system in place to where we compete regularly, and that is really edgy throughout the week, which is good. But when Saturdays and the ball's kicked off, each side of the ball has each other's back. And it's great being around these guys that understand the team concept. It's a lot of fun.
Let's go to Ben Jones, statecollege.com. Max Ralph, you're on deck.
Hey, Mike, appreciate you taking the time today. There's no rule that an offense has to be sexy. So I wonder how you sort of square an eye test of this offense so far with the reality that when it comes to scoring points and possessing the ball and not turning it over, you're doing a lot of things well, but maybe it doesn't have the visual flash that maybe you would look for.
Yeah, I understand where you're headed with that, and we have to continue to improve. And the areas that we need to improve on are more explosive plays, and we know that. At the same time, we're doing some good things, and I think our offense has to understand that we're doing a lot of difficult things well, to where we're putting long drives together. We're keeping the defense off the field, which helps them play better. So we're playing team offense, but we do need to improve in certain areas. And, the sexiness, or however you may term that, we do understand there is an area for that. However, we have to keep very important things important, not to say that our area where we're short in is not important. It is, and we're going to address those things. But we're playing winning football right now. And we need, if we can just continue to make strides and get better, and accelerate. And I think with time that will happen, especially with some inexperience at wide receiver and the quarterback position, a first-time starter. We will continue to get better as long as our confidence continues to grow. And our offense does need to understand that they've done certain things very well. And we have to face the facts of what we need to get better at, and honestly self-evaluate and attack those areas. And that's how you get better. And those are the things that we're looking at. And it's a great opportunity for us in this off week to really self-scout ourselves and to really dig down deep into those areas.
Max Ralph, Sports Illustrated, and then Andrew Clay, you're on deck.
Hey, Mike, appreciate your time. Just curious if you could take a moment to assess the offensive line through 5 games. Obviously, some adversity with losing Landon at the beginning of the year. Just how you think they've done and how much they can contribute to increasing that explosive play category, especially in the run game. Thanks.
Yes, sir. So they've done a really good job. When we went back and just our last ball game, since it's in like kind of the near back of the brain, we only had 2 negative yardage plays. And whenever you're consistently moving the ball forward in a manner, it will help with field position. And in football, we have to continue to have positive gains. And anytime that you're able to walk away from a football game and only have 2 negative yardage plays, that's really good. So there's a lot to build on. There's a lot of good. The improvements that have to be made are just continuing to execute better when run game and the numbers are equal in the box, to come away with more yardage, to come off with a lower hat, the fundamentals, to get more vertical when vertical runs are called, A-gap runs, just continuing to come off and double team and move people at the point of attack. And then give us a chance when we do have to throw the football to complement ourselves and not be in too many drop back situations where the defense can really pin their ears back and attack. I think that's one of the areas that we've done a really good job of, is making manageable situations especially when we cross midfield, to give ourselves the best opportunity to go for it on 4th and short and to create manageable third downs to where you're not putting those guys in position where they're stressed. And so that's kind of one of the things that we can control as coaches as best as we possibly can to protect those guys. And I think that that's what you're seeing, and we need to continue to grow in that area.
Andrew Clay, WTAJ, and T. Frank, you're on deck.
Hey, Coach. Something we've seen at times this year has been, it seems to be some timing and chemistry off between Drew and some of the receivers. It seemed like a bigger issue on Saturday against Northwestern. Given how deep we are into the season, how much of a concern is that to you?
Yeah, it's a big concern with me right now and to us as an entire staff, and we've got to remedy that fast, and we got to be on point with our landmarks and our depth of routes and our timing. That is something that we're going to address, and that is a big issue we have to clean up.
Go to T. Frank with on 3, and then Daniel Gallon, you're on deck.
Good afternoon, Mike. I have a question about your quarterback and not necessarily, his execution of a play, but more so, you spend a lot of time designing a game plan to attack the weaknesses of a defense all week long. I imagine it's your sole focus, but as soon as the ball is snapped, that is out of your hands. So how does a quarterback's personality change the call or augment or shape what's going on the field? And what do you think Drew's personality is as the guy calling the plays or commanding the plays under center?
Yeah, I think what you're referring to is like freedom within the play. And so a lot of our passing concepts are progression based. So, there is hard, fast rules, pre-snap indicators, and then when the ball is snapped, a lot of different things can happen. So there's a lot of trust that has to happen between the quarterback and the quarterback coach and the entire staff, for that matter, and really with the entire offense. So those are the things where the relationship and the trust factor and the dependability and what guys do in practice and execution is the name of the game. And so I think Drew has a really good feel for seeing the field. He does a great job of going where he needs to go with the ball and where he should go with the ball based on what the defense has given us. So it's not a freelance type deal. When the ball is snapped, hey, do whatever. Obviously there's things that we go through and progressions and rules. And the more we have trust that he's going to follow those rules, and when certain times comes where he sees certain things and gets to a particular route or progression, there's thoughtfulness behind it. There's always got to be the question of why, like, why did you go there? What were you thinking? Like if you were in a quarterback meeting, you would consistently hear me ask questions in our meetings. And when there's good sound reason behind them, that's what you want to hear, right? Those are the conversations that you want to have. The conversations that you don't want to hear, or the comments you don't want to hear, is like, I don't know, and I'm not sure, and that's not happening. And so he's got really good reasons for the things, the why behind everything that he does. So right now, we're on track and like where we're headed in that regard.
Thank you.
Got time for one more question. Daniel Gallon, 247.
Hey, Mike, thanks for your time this afternoon. How would you evaluate the play of Nick Catron and your running backs through 5 games this season?
Pretty good. Again, they continue to learn everything there is, from run game standpoint to pass game protections, and they've done a really good job. Last week was a really good week for us in pass protection from a tailback standpoint, but just continuing to trust their instincts, trust their vision and their speed, learning when to bounce and be a little bit patient on certain A-gap runs, gap schemes, and those sorts of things. Just continuing to iron out the finer points of each run that we're running, and seeing the big picture of things, of why we're doing what we're doing, what we're trying to set up, and that will hopefully increase our explosiveness in the run game.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike.